Hi, Mario. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell me what we have today questions.
Yeah, of course. The featured question today is amongst the given statutory criteria for the EB1A green card, are certain criteria considered more important?
Well, I mean, there are multiple ways to answer this question. I would put it in two ways. The first thing is from a next week program perspective, as I have always been saying that, this question stems essentially from the premises of, you being a criteria centric. And that may not necessarily serve well for, for an individual who is aspirant for becoming extraordinary and trying to, apply for EB1A. One of the things which we always say that it is the degree of your expertise that matters, and the criterias are only lens or pathways to prove that. So fundamentally, when you are getting EB1A, you don't get because you fulfill the criteria. You essentially get because you are an expert in a field, US has benefit out of it, and you will continue in that field of expertise. So that's the fundamental thing that you're trying to prove by any initiative or undertaking that you are kind of trying to justify it. Actually, you are kind of you why you should be get, because the burden of persuasion is always upon you. Since the
Hmm.
burden of persuasion is upon you, these criteria are nothing but lens to look at you as a look at one as a person, or look at one's expertise for the benefit of each and everybody. So making a criteria centric approach may not serve well. Now that's my first take. Now, having said this, since there are criteria and you have to look it from the lens of the criteria, your question is, given the amongst all the given statutory criteria, is there is a precedence of one criteria to another? There is no such. The law does not ask anyone. But based on my empirical study, after having studied over 1,000 EB1A cases, after having having 30 to 30 plus EB1A achievers from the program, I can definitely say this with certainty that if one were to go, let us say, for example, were to establish original contribution as a criteria, there is a high likelihood that one would get through. After having seen thousands of cases, I can possibly say that I am yet to find a single case wherein original contribution criteria has been approved, yet uh, yet your case is denied or you got an RFE. Uh, I have seen even cases where 7 to 8 criteria are approved and the case is denied, but original contribution was never in that criteria. So this essentially establishes that, well, because original contribution demonstrates essentially the profundity of an individual. It determines that how prolific that person's contributions are, and then it becomes very simple to kind of you know demonstrate your expertise for the benefit of the US and other things, because there's something original about you. And the last thing I would say that, having said this, there are people who have got EB1A without even going for original contribution. It is not a precedence, but I would say it is one of the most toughest criteria, the original contribution one. Well, and lastly, I would just like to state that many people come up and say that, oh, we fulfill two criteria, salary and the critical role, and is that sufficient? I mean, I just need a third criteria. That is definitely not, because that would be completely a wrong approach to go for criteria centric approach. So that would be my take, Mario, and I hope that helps for the people who are EB1A aspirants for their for fulfilling their American dream.
Absolutely. I think that was well said. The next question that we have is from an anonymous user. It says, I have around 300 citations in the computer science field, and my recommender has nearly 2,000 plus citations in various other domains like healthcare, IT, biotechnology, etc. Any disadvantages of considering him as my recommender for obtaining a recommendation letter? Does the USCIS normally check and compare applicant citations count with the recommender's account? Sorry, and does this further lead to unnecessary RFE? Please pour your inputs. How to navigate this?
You see, I mean, on a colloquial scale, I mean, let's put it this way, that your recommender should have a locus to give you. Either he's an independent recommender, somebody is an expert, and for which criteria you are doing it. Is it a support letter, recommendation letter, or an expert opinion letter? Somebody who is an expert, let's say, for example, I do some work and I get a recommendation, forget from somebody who is higher than I get from a Nobel laureate, and that person says that, oh, Ranjeet's work is neat plus ultra in certain things, and I think this would help to contribute a field in this. And I am saying this because I have seen his work by virtue of a journal, and this is related to journal you're talking about in terms of citation. I assume that this is you're trying to fulfill scholarly article criteria, possibly an original contribution criteria, where a good expert opinion would matter. So even if you were to get from a Nobel laureate and who would vouch for the credibility and the originality in the field, that would go to your advantage, I would say that. But I think I'm not very sure that to what extent, how would the context of the person who is giving you a recommendation letter should come into the picture here. I mean, you can just attach his CV. He did not say that I have so many citations or so many things. That is immaterial. The person has to be credible. The person should have a locus to say something, and should have some kind of a relevance to the field, and also your connection matters in this particular case. Obviously, one need not be expert in EB1A, but one needs to be expert in the field for which your expertise is resonating. So that would be my take. So to answer it in a very brief and short manner, it does not matter. The profundity of the letter, what it is stating, would have more context. That would be my take, Mario.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate that one. I think that's where a lot of people kind of go wrong with letter of recommendations, is it should kind of suit your case, on a professional basis rather than what they actually bring to it. So definitely understand you on that point. So our next question from another anonymous user is, if I file for EB1A, does it affect my current H1B or EB2 status? What happens to my existing EB2 petition? If my EB1A
hold on. I think there are too many questions at the same time.
Okay.
So let's do one question at a time. So what's the first question?
So if I file for EB1A, does it affect my current H1B or EB2 status?
Absolutely not. When US immigration gives you a permission to kind of apply concurrently, also allows you to do it multiple. In fact, recently we had this gentleman, Rignesh, who got his EB1A approved yesterday. In fact, he had his perm got approved. Perm was filed I think 1.5 to 2 years back. And his EB2 was also filed along with his EB1A. Let us put it that way. And he got his EB2 approval just few days before his EB1A approval with an older priority date. And fortunately, his EB1A got approved yesterday, so he can port his EB1A date to EB2 date, and he can get his green card. So answering your question, does it affect my current? Absolutely not. So that would be take for the first question. So what's the second part of it?
Yeah. So the second part of the question is, what happens to my existing EB2 petition if my EB1A is denied? Can I still use it to adjust my status in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I answered this question very, kind of in a very specific manner just now. It doesn't matter at all, actually. Absolutely. So I already answered that, because there were two people, even if it's, God forbid not, but touch wood, had he got his EB1A denied, his EB2 would still be there. It was filed concurrently, and a span of a difference between a day or something like this. So it would not matter at all, actually. Okay. So that would be my take.
Absolutely. And I think the rest of the question is kind of similar to what you'd already answered. If my EB1A I-140 is approved, but I cannot adjust my status immediately, due to visa backlogs, can I still maintain my H1B, which is yes.
Absolutely. This is not a legal advice, but also let's understand that H1B is a dual intent visa. You could definitely have while you're waiting for your EB1A priority date, you can definitely be on H1B. That's not a problem at all.
Absolutely. So our next question is from another anonymous user.
Let's also understand that people do get confused. In fact, we had somebody that he thought that since his EB2 is pending, he can never apply for EB1A, and he lost a couple of months in that. And when he kind of applied, and fortunately he got his EB1A approved, and he could port the date. So I think right education, understanding is must. If you have any question, guys, and who is listening to this and recording or live session right now, please kind of don't hesitate to reach out to us. Come on this session, write to us. We'll be there to help you out and answer all your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's move to the next question.
Yeah, of course. So another anonymous user, when given an RFE, does it mean it's 50-50 approval or denial? And what are the key aspects to consider when addressing an RFE?
You see, when you file an application, normally you would get three possibilities exist. The first is approval, which is, I think, everybody wishes and hopes for. The second would be an RFE, which is nothing but, as the word says, request for evidence. And the last would be NOID, which is notice of intent of denial. The last one will be a bit tricky because USCIS is basically trying to tell you that we have found you incompetent to be awarded EB1A. Is that's as simple as that? I cannot be. I mean, that would be a badass way of kind of putting across any NOID for that matter. But RFE, I would like to look at it as a request for evidence. You have given certain documentation. Remember, EB1A requires a tons of documentation, and I've seen people furnishing roughly ranging from 1,500 pages in totality to as high as 7 to 8,000 pages. So if some piece of documentation is missing or some clarification is not being sought, some argument is not being given, USCIS may be inclined to give you an RFE and ask for evidences. And it does not mean anything 50-50 or something. It could mean just a binary also. I mean, just 0 1, because as simple documentation as the W2 for a particular month you have not given properly to approve your salary criteria, it does not mean that it is 50% approved or not. You have simply, they're asking you for a documentation. The only thing that I would request people to kind of do something like this is, if a specific answer the specific question. I have seen people trying to respond to RFEs with tons of material which is out of context at times, which will really not be helpful. So I think the best course of action would be simply see the question. Incidentally, not about EB1A, I would like to recollect a case wherein somebody, actually got an RFE for NIW. The person got subsequently his EB1A and was trying to block a priority date. So that was the moment he joined the program, he applied for NIW. What happened there was, I told him that, okay, put all questions in an Excel sheet, put those questions and draft a response and give a clarification exhibit. So there were 3 columns that were made. So make it clear and then translate this into a Word file or and convert that into PDF with a proper documentation. That would be the right approach. Now, having said this, I have another information to share. I mean, typically what I have seen that how when RFEs is issued or when NOIDs are issued, it's about something like that. Now, when RFE, I have seen, because there are 2 steps of adjudication for any EB1A application. The first is you get, criteria are approved or denied, whatever, they look for criteria. And then there is a 2-step process that is a final merit determination. Normally, I have seen that if people get, when the criteria, you don't fulfill 3 out of even 3 criteria, they generally tend to give you RFE. That has been my empirical understanding. And if your criteria are approved and if your final merit determination is not up to the meritorious disposition what they are seeking, then in that case, I have seen NOIDs coming in actually. Like I gave an example, somebody getting 7 criteria approved yet getting denied because they issued NOID first and then it was a denial. So that would be the approach. But since the question pertains to does it mean 50-50 approval, it doesn't mean anything. Remember, I mean, it's a binary. It's either yes or no. They're asking for some clarification, better focus, and just respond to the question what is being asked. Don't try to dodge and don't try to give information which is not asked for or warranted in this particular case. I hope that helps, Maria.
Absolutely. So our next question from another anonymous user is, how should I show authorship of scholarly articles? Should it be the first page of the article where I'm mentioned as an author? And is the Google Scholar page sufficient as well?
I think it's a more from an evidence perspective. I'm happy to take this question. My take has always been that whatever you give it conclusive. And don't try to, do something which is, half baked, only cover page or something. No, I would rather give the full article actually. And I've seen people doing that. I know it becomes voluminous, but it's your effort, it's your work. If somebody wants to refer, they would definitely like to see the article rather than expecting them to go on a Google or try to look for you and try to do that. I would like to make whatever facts that I'm stating to be conclusive, backed up with evidence, and evidences are like, they have to be credible, probative, and relevant. So that's the approach, and these are the words which USCIS uses, and in any legal jurisprudence, these are the words that are required. So that's how it would be actually, I would say that.
Absolutely. So just if it's there, you want to be able to show it fully in like every endeavor of it. Just don't
absolutely. So for example, some people ask, I have a patent, can I just give a number? I mean, I don't want to give the full patent. I mean, no, you should give full. Why not? What's stopping you?
Mm-hmm.
My only question would be why if you have done something, give it enough complete. If you have done judging opportunities, give completely. Now the question could be that you have written a book I've written 10 books. Should I give 10 books? That could be a little challenging, but yes, I mean, I would not hesitate to say yes, because if you have done something, do that, because it is relevant. I think it is because evidence has to be relevant and credible and probative. It means that something can be derived out of it, actually. That's the way it is being understood. So I would definitely say that give as much as possible, which fits into these three metrics, actually. So don't shy away from giving, because again, if there is an RFP something, again, you will have to give that. And so that would be wonderful. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So the next question that I have here is I've been involved in a high profile international project that won a Global Innovation Award. Can I utilize this experience to prove leadership in my field for the EB1A to meet a critical role or original contribution, or both?
Can you repeat the question, Mario?
So they have been involved with a high profile international project that won a Global Innovation Award. They asked, can I utilize the experience to prove leadership in my field for the EB1A to meet either critical role or original contribution, or both?
Frankly, I don't have an understanding about what's your expertise, what this award is all about, and what the project is all about. As I said before, there are three things for which only you get EB1A. And again, this question stems from being a criteria centric, which is, not the right way to look at it. If you have got an award, I would like to know for which you got the award and how it is linked to your expertise, whether your company got an award or whether you got an award. If you got an award as a part of Team USCIS, did clarify something that you can use it to your advantage. But I don't have enough data point to objectively respond to this. But with an assumption that this is related to your expertise and you got an award for something which is original, then it has to be significant. Now, significant, please understand, original contributions significant to the field can be established only from an academic sense or using certain scientific or statistical metrics. It cannot be established by virtue of an award. I do something for which I get an award doesn't mean it is original or it is significant. Significance has to be very objective in one way. So, frankly, Mario, I really don't know how to answer this. But assuming that, yes, leadership is not a criteria, but if you let us assume only one last thing, I can say that, okay, if you have got it, your company has got it, and you played a significant role during that project. So this could be an original critical role. Definitely, this could be a critical role, but whether it will manifest into an original contribution also, you can use the same evidence for a multiple criteria, or for that matter, even award. I need to understand more dynamics of it, actually. So I don't want to jump the gun without having all the facts. If you can send us the details, I'll be more than happy to respond to this.
Absolutely.
So let's take the last question now, Mario.
Yeah, of course. So the last question is, it's more of a credentials for their profile. It says, can my credentials satisfy an EB1A profile? They have a Bachelor of Pharmacy and Masters of Clinical Pharmacy, currently a PhD student, third year in Auburn. They have 14 publications, 3 as a first author, 303 citations, 5 conferences, poster presentation, and they have, I have with my advisor a patent for my current PhD project.
Okay. Now, very accomplished. I would like to take a minute to get a preamble to this question first before even responding. A very prolific profile, I would say that. But whether it is for EB1A readiness or not is not justified by your academic skills or knowledge spectrum. Remember, there are 3 dimensions for you getting EB1A. The first is your knowledge spectrum, which is very important. Without knowledge, nothing survives. So you are EB1A. So but I don't know what is your expertise. You have to be in the top. How does this prove that you are in the top 10% of the expertise and you have impacted the world around you? So the first dimension, if you look at from a dimension perspective, always have you can visualize XYZ axis. The first one would be knowledge spectrum. Second is your progressive experience. How, by virtue of that knowledge, you could demonstrate that progressive experience. That's the second dimension, which is very important. And third dimension is what is the impact of your work. And you don't get EB1A because of your knowledge. If it is because of knowledge, then I think EB1B is very good for you. If it is because of your only experience, then EB1C or EB1C is good for you. If it is only because of knowledge, because they call it exceptional, then EB2 might be good for you. But if you're talking about EB1A, all these three dimensions come into interplay, which is the impact factor. You may be the world's best, something in knowledge. Forget you're somebody saying that 3 as a first author, you have 100 as a, but what has been the impact of that authorship? How many people actually read your book? How many people got impacted? What was the cutting edge technology that you created? How many people got lived? Now, you don't get EB1A because of your knowledge, or for that matter, even because of your experience. You just use these two as a levers to create an impact in the world around you. I mean, I have a very, how do I say this? A very different metric to evaluate your EB1A readiness. I mean, it's a very strange way, but I would just say that try to ask yourself a question: how would the world look without your contribution? If you can answer this question, you may have impacted a small field, a small, you know, you may be a fish in a pond or a fish in an ocean. But are you just a small fish in a big ocean, or are you a big fish in a small pond? And the size of the pond also matters actually here. Now, here comes a question that what the world look like. Let's look at extraordinary people whom we really call them as an extraordinary. Let's look at Elon Musk. How would the world look like without Elon Musk being there? How the world would look like without Gandhi being there? How would the world look like without Martin Luther King being there? How would it look? Let's take the best movie maker, Christopher Nolan, world look like without being there? How would the world look like without your contributions being in the world? I mean, these citations, these academic accomplishments, you being from the best of the best universities, really do not matter for the purpose of EB1A. And that would be my take. I mean, look at yourself from, because EB1A is look at from a perspective that EB1A is not just a mere green card. It is a stamp of excellence by the US government on the contributions and the work that you have done that would benefit the United States. And why is the United States wanting you? Because it wants to remain apex at the cutting edge technology, at the cutting edge. It wants to have a knowledge repository all over the world. Are you ready for that? Then it makes a difference. Otherwise, there are other possible green cards for you, which are wonderful. So you can wait for that. But if you're looking for EB1A, so I think I've answered this question specifically, whether it is 14 or 20, but I would like to again see this is an incomplete answer to me, and many people on the Facebooks or social media or people DM me every day. Practically, I have met this. What is it? So my first question to everybody is that, what's your expertise, and how do you think that is benefiting? What is the impact of the nature of your work? If you can answer these questions in a one page, let's say that, forget law, forget legal, that would be wonderful. So that would be my take, Mario. Thank you very much, guys, for having me. And what we'll do that if somebody has any more questions, we'll be happy to take those questions. Do write to us. If you're interested to join the Next League program, we'll be more than happy to help you as well. So Mario, thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.